Hello, my friend, and welcome to the 399th episode of the Sales Podcast. I'm Wes Schaefer, the Sales Whisperer, your host. If you missed 398, go check out Sky Cassidy. We got a little bit in the weeds, but it is the attention to detail that helps you make the sale. I always say if you want to make any sale, you must make every sale. And that means every little step, every interaction, every exposure the prospect has to you needs to be unique. It needs to stand out. Sky focuses on small details that he accumulates on his own, and that's his business now, is helping you get great lists, great information that you can take action on, and it helps you stand out. So go check that out. Coming up on number 400 is a unique episode. I will probably lose some followers, but I bet I gain some more, and I bet I strengthen the relationship with those that stick around. So stay tuned for that. It'll come out this week, so it'll come out very soon, right after this one. Today we got Steve Thompson. He's the author of The Compelling Proposal, Make It Easy for the Customer to Buy from You. You would be surprised how hard it is to buy from some people, how hard companies make it. And so getting back to this point I was talking about with Sky, right? To make any sale, you must make every sale, which includes the proposal process, the negotiation. How do you deliver it? How long does it take to create? How detailed is it? Is it a line item breakdown, or is it just one big price for everything? All of those things come into play. So how you do that matters, okay? And talking about how you engage in every little step. As you've heard over the last few weeks, I've got a new sponsor, Intercom. Once you get traffic to your website, how do you stand out? How do you engage? How do you capture the hot prospects and strike while the iron is hot? You do that with Intercom. Check this out. What does insight-driven messaging look like for sales? Like a whole lot more deals, fast. Jump on high-intent leads in the moment with Intercom, the business messenger that extends the reach of your team 24/7. Intercom creates more opportunities for you by booking meetings and collecting data from leads automatically. Take Intercom user Elegant Themes. They now convert 25% of leads through Intercom's messenger. Deals don't wait. Get them with Intercom. Go to intercom.com/deals. That's intercom.com/deals. And speaking of deals, several of you have taken me up on this new deal, which is the $49.99 per month, $49.99 per month to hang out with me all day, every day in our private group. Join our live weekly calls Thursday mornings and go through all of the videos, all of the audio, all of the spreadsheets, the templates. I even have some proposals in there, some statements of work, scope of work type agreements, things you can use, that would normally cost hundreds or thousands of dollars if you go to someone to make this kind of stuff for you. So come hang out with us, 30daysalesgrowth.com. It's a month-to-month agreement, so I call it 30-day sales growth. You can still get a 1-year guarantee. So come plug in, get better, grow your sales, and I promise you will get a whole lot more better at this thing called sales. All right, 30daysalesgrowth.com. Check it out. And now let's bring on our guest. Steve Thompson, author of The Compelling Proposal, Make It Easy for the Customer to Buy from You, all the way from Hotlanta. Welcome to the Sales Podcast. How the heck are you?
I'm doing great, Wes, and it's great to be on the show.
So, man, I have a soft spot in my heart for proposals, for negotiations. But we were talking just before I hit record. So on your website, valuelifecycle.com, you talk about, and then it's scrolling on me. I got to pull it up. Hold on. There. You want to sell a big deal to an existing customer, but do you know your past value delivered? And I said, that's the first time I've heard that, at least in that phrase. So what's going on there? Because you said that's we'll start right with the killer question, right?
Yeah.
So walk us through that scenario that you were telling me just before we hit record.
Well, for your audience, not only do I do a lot of work on the B2B selling side, but about half my work's on the buying side with some of the largest companies in the world that bring me in to help them position, negotiate, and close critical deals with suppliers that they'd like to have a long-term relationship with. And what I'm seeing,
you mean you're supporting the enemy? I may have to end that. I should have screened this better.
This isn't aiding and abetting here now, because my goal is always that we do a great deal for both parties.
Sure.
Okay. And so the perspective I'm going to give you is, this is a question I'm seeing being asked more and more on the buying side. It's an existing supplier, and somebody from finance can come down with a spreadsheet or, a printout that says, my God, here's how much money we've been spending with this company over the last year, 2 years, whatever. They'll go to your champion and say, do you realize the amount of money we've been spending? And by the way, the CFO would like to know, what are we getting for that?
Yep.
And if your champion doesn't have a ready answer, suddenly he or she has kind of got a target painted on them. It's a political target. And of course, the way things work in sales, it does roll downhill, and that target's going to be very squarely placed on you as a supplier. And where this is becoming more and more of an issue is with the advent of things such as, I call it something as a service. It could be software, platform, whatever it may be. But any business model that is predicated on not just winning the business initially, but keeping the customer and growing them, this is putting a lot of companies at risk, because of the issue of churn. And
Right.
It's the number one reason customers churn.
Because they can't answer that question. Is that what you mean? That the number one reason they churn?
Sure. Is it, they bought something from you in the past and they don't believe they got the value. And that's really what past value delivered means.
Yeah. Years ago, I was in the tech space, and a friend of mine, he was a partner, became a friend over the years. We're still friends since 2004, but he had a managed service provider type business, right? Working with medium-sized businesses, keeping the lights on, right? As far as infrastructure of their servers and email and all that good stuff. And he was very good, literally one of the smartest people I've ever met in the IT space. But it's like your electricity and your water. It just always works, right? And the only time you ever call is when you flip the switch and it doesn't work. And then you're angry. Exactly. It doesn't matter. They got $1 billion of infrastructure going on, right? And just around the clock, just geniuses and hardworking people up to their waist in gunk, just making sure you can get on the internet. And I told him, and this was years ago, it's like, you got to come up with some type of reports, use the software that you're using, send it weekly, send it monthly. Say, hey, here's the 6 million phishing, scanning, whatever,
exactly.
port sweeps that we detected and prevented. Because they don't know how good you are until you're gone.
Remind them.
Yeah.
If you don't remind them. And it's even more powerful if during the selling motion, you and the customer in a collaborative fashion determined what success looked like. And those are the metrics that you then report on. I had a cybersecurity company as a client for about 12 years, and it was the exact same thing you were talking about. One of their offerings was a consumer product, and this is an antivirus that you would load on your laptop or what have you. And after a lot of haggling back and forth with them, I finally convinced them to put out a monthly report that they would send out to every customer that would show them, this is how many things we blocked and how many, just exactly as you were saying. And the response was overwhelming,
right.
from the customers, because they need to be reminded
right.
that stuff is happening, good things are happening, because, we tend to focus on the squeaky wheel, when something's
right.
broken.
Yeah. Yeah, and that same tech company where I met him, I was working for the company. He was a partner, reseller, and it was a new form factor kind of computer, and it was the same computer as anybody else. It was an Intel chipset. It was a Western Digital or Seagate, whatever, hard drive. It was just on a skinny blade form factor that you rack mounted. We had a unique cable that extended the desktop. So the computer was the same, but people are, it's different. We got to try it.
The new shiny object.
Yeah, well, Well, yeah, well, kind of in reverse. So I'm trying to get my foot in the door, and they're like, well, we have to confirm that it runs all of our peripherals. So
Right.
I knew which ones we ran and which ones we didn't. So I was like, what do you need to run? Well, we got this external drive. We have this, hospitals, we've got a thermometer, whatever. So I'm like, I had this whole list. I was like, yes, 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 yes. Oh, let me check. Okay, yeah, we can do that one. Okay, what? Anything else? They're like, no, that's it. Are you sure? All right. Yep, that's it. Okay, fine. I'll get you a demo. And you're saying if it runs all these peripherals, then you'll buy it. Yes, we will. So it was a done deal at that point, right? I didn't have to
Yep.
send it in and hope that it worked because I knew it worked.
Sure.
But everybody's running around just trying to close a quick deal and get the money and run, huh?
Well, what you're really alluding to is what I think is the biggest disconnect between the buyer and the seller out there. And I think the gulf is getting even wider. And it's this. One of my favorite quotes is from a guy from Harvard University. And by the way, this is circa 1960. This guy was way ahead of his time. His name was Theodore Levitt. And he said, people don't buy a 1/4-inch drill, they buy a 1/4-inch hole. And his whole point is that people are buying an outcome, a different outcome. Now they're paying for the drill and drill bits, but they're buying that specific outcome. And when you look at what's going on in B2B sales today with the quarterly pressure and the numbers, salespeople too often are selling to a closed deal. But from a customer's perspective, at the point that I issue you a PO when I'm a customer, I'll tell you, I'm scared to death. Now, you as a salesperson may be having a party, right? You cash a commission check, you hit quota, maybe you're going to club, whatever the case may be. But, I just convinced other people in the organization that you and your company were the right choice. I jumped through the hoops, got the PO issued, and I'm terrified.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the disconnect because, see, most sales organizations, or at least salespeople, are selling to that booked deal. What I'm buying to is a different outcome. Okay, so everything that's happened up till now, as far as I'm concerned, is a necessary evil. I had to sit down with multiple suppliers and listen to their pitches, and that wasn't much fun. Maybe I had to go convince my senior management to change things, and we're going to have to, write a big check, disrupt business. That wasn't fun. Maybe they insisted I take it out for bid, so I had to write an RFP. And I don't know if you've ever been involved in writing an RFP, but it's about as much fun as having hot tar poured up your nose. And then I send it out to this qualified bid list. And then I get back these things called proposals from the suppliers, and I've got to read through them and make a decision. And see, this is all the stuff happening on the buying side. And I think sellers, we sell for a living. We're professionals in the sales space. What we often forget is our customers don't buy for a living. Their business is not buying. Their business is their business.
Right.
And, when we start disconnecting from that and as the gulf gets further, you're right. We're focused on a closed deal when they're looking for, wait a minute, getting you the PO was not the end game. Okay.
Right.
Everything
Right.
up to that was a pain in the butt.
Yeah.
I'm looking for those outcomes. And by the way, I'm going to give you credit if you help me deliver those outcomes.
Right.
Makes me look smart, makes me look good for choosing you. And that's really the essence of the past value delivered.
Right. Yeah, and I came up with the ABCDE model, right? And it's attract, bond, convert, right?
Yep.
Convert, cash, close, customer, client, whatever C you want to use, right? But then you deliver, and then you endear, right? It's like, martial arts, or baseball, you swing through contact, right? You sell, you continue selling through the winning of the proposal, of the order,
Well, and because look, I've been through just about all the sales training there is out there, and I'm sure you have too. The biggest problem with all the models I've seen is they're all linear. They have a beginning and an end, right? Sales process, beginning and an end, negotiation, beginning and an end, account management, beginning and an end. And that's not the world we live in now. It is, just as you alluded to, it's a cycle. And that's why we call it the value life cycle, because the day we sign a deal with a customer, things are going to change. right? None of us can predict the future, and change is the catalyst for new opportunities. If you've got a customer that has zero change, I'll guarantee you have zero opportunities with them. And if we want to be the ones that get our unfair share of upsell, cross-sell, or if we want to be in a position where renewals are, just an automatic non-event, we got to ensure that we're in there delivering that value
Right.
and getting credit for delivering it.
That's harder than it sounds, though, isn't it?
Well, a lot of things are simple, but that you're right. It doesn't always mean they're easy. But then you ask yourself, okay, what's your option? What's your alternative if you don't do it? If it's just a drive-by sale, we book the business, we take off. Now, don't get me wrong, the salespeople don't have to be the people that are delivering that value and getting credit, but somebody in the company does. And what I typically see as a handoff is when it goes to the implementation and support people, and customer success is, one of the new big organizations that are forming on the back end. What I see handed to them is basically, here's the customer, here's how much they bought, and here's what they bought. We don't tell them why they bought it. We don't tell it. I mean, and get back to the, the analogy of the drill and drill bits. We tell them how many drills and drill bits they bought, but we don't tell them, well, what were the holes, that they wanted.
I'll tell you why they bought, because I'm a great salesperson and I overcame adversity and I've got a good golf game. And you know what? I know my scotches. What more do you need to know?
That's right. I do. But the good old boy selling of relationships. And look, I came up through the ranks during that era, okay? And those days are quickly going away because the people you're selling to, in many cases, there's so much turnover, not just on the sales side, but on customer side. What happens when a brand new executive replaces your champion?
Yep.
What are you going to talk to him or her about if you don't have in place a customer success plan where you can at least say, look, with your predecessor, here were the key outcomes that he or she were looking for us to produce. Here's what we produced to date. Now, you may have a different agenda. You may want to zig or zag, and we're more than willing to do so. But at least at that point, you've signaled to them that, look, you didn't sell them something. Okay, you were focused on what they were buying, which were the outcomes.
Right. And that, like in anything, the real magic is in the setup.
Yeah.
Right. It's like Thanksgiving dinner. You better be preparing for weeks. Right. I know my wife is talking to her mom and her aunt and her cousins. I mean, they're coordinating way ahead. Who's getting the turkey? Who's doing? Oh, we know who does the turkey. Oh, we know who does the ham. That's kind of a given. But who's bringing what? Who's bringing a girlfriend this time? A boyfriend? And then 15 minutes, it's done. Right. Wham.
Meal's over.
Meal's over, right? And there's so much work in the setup. How do we slow the people down? How do we get management off our backs? It's like, man, you want me? It's like, I got your book here, Steve. This all sounds really nice, but I can't stick around. As soon as that ink is dry, before it's even dry, I got to get to my next deal because they just raised my quota 30%, and I just beat it by 30% last year, and that was a 30% increase. So I'm almost 200% quota this year versus last year. I can't stick around and hold their hands.
Well, and I'm not suggesting that you as the account exec have to sit around and hold their hands, but somebody in your company has to own this. The ball's getting dropped on it. And I can't tell you how many clients I'll be talking to a senior executive, and I'll say, okay, who owns customer success? And I'll get the obligatory, well, everybody does. Well, as you know, in the real world, that means nobody does.
Yeah.
Because you can't go shoot everybody. It's the whole reason you form a committee, right? Committees are formed because you can't go shoot them all and nobody's really held responsible. And that just won't cut it in business now. And if we're going to hit our growth targets, we got to have pipeline. And we can't afford to have a big hole in the bucket of our install base, right? Because then that means you got that much more pouring out the bottom. if you got to grow 30% and you got 20% coming out the bottom, guess what? You got to book 50% just to hit where you want to go. So a lot of the thinking that's behind this, I think, is really flawed. And by the way, it all comes from the selling side. Okay, it is the pressures we're putting on it. A lot of the work I do with my selling clients is I'm brought in to work on big deals with account teams, help them position, propose, and negotiate them, and close them. And I had one a couple months ago. It was fairly early stage, and got with the team, and I'll ask them, guys, I don't hold your quota, but basically, how big's this opportunity? And they said, well, it's 3.14 million. I said, geez, that's pretty precise for this early in the sales cycle. Why is it 3.14 million? Well, because that's my quota. I said, well, good luck with that. Okay. Because
they were saying one deal was their entire quota.
Yeah. And what you're telling me as a customer is you want me to stroke you a $3.14 million check. Well, man, you better have a whole lot of value, okay, before I'm going to write a check that big.
Yeah, I better have a $3.15 million pain.
That is exactly right. So it's, we're looking at it from a backwards view. And that's really what I do with my clients is kind of switch things around. I know you're going to also tell me that, it's getting a lot harder. Not only do I have increased quota and pressures, there's more buying influencers on the customer side. Well, guess what? We think buying or selling in the B2B space is harder. It's much harder now to buy in the B2B space. And I don't think we appreciate that as sellers.
I thought there's Google and Siri and artificial intelligence. Can I just say, hey, Alexa, just ship me the right thing? Isn't it that easy?
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly how it goes, right? I mean, you've got a career-changing decision you've got to make, right, for your company that is switching their strategy and going in a different direction, and you're going to be able to Google it. The most important thing that a buyer wants to know is who understands me and what I'm trying to accomplish. And you know what? They can't Google that anywhere. They can find a lot of information about your products, your services, other customers that have bought from you. But the real question they want answered is who really understands me? And that's got to come from the sales organization.
You know what? That has never changed since.
Nope. Hadn't changed, never will change.
Since the snake was selling apples in the garden.
That is correct.
I don't feel understood. Yes, I need more knowledge. I know. I saw this thing. I'm from Louisiana originally. I just saw this sticker. It said, I wish Adam and Eve were Cajuns because they would have bypassed the apple and eaten the snake. I was like, that's kind of true right there.
That's good. I like that. I like that a lot.
Oh, man.
You're spot on. The fundamentals have not changed. And what's happening is the fundamentals aren't being executed on. They really aren't. Everybody's looking for, the magic wand, and it just doesn't exist. Selling is hard. Okay, it's hard. But really the point, as I said before, buying is even harder. Now, the pushback I'll get is, but look, they've got all of this information. Well, guess what? It's too much information now. It's noise. Okay, yeah. It's noise. And they need somebody to help them cut to the heart of the matter, because the truth is they don't enjoy buying. Yep. They want to hit the easy button, just as you alluded to. And that's not what we're doing, okay? In many cases, we're making it even harder.
Yeah. Yep. Do you get into like personality types like Myers-Briggs and stuff? And, does that come into play? Can you pick up on like what's driving that buyer? And because that's what kind of comes to mind. Like you can tell if somebody's sort of, are they relationship, or they just want to get it done, right? Because I'm thinking like when I have to buy something, because you're right, I like buying, I hate shopping. Right? I hate all the comparing. Right? It's like
you're like me.
Like, dude, I called you in here because you were recommended. I'm not telling you to tell me what to buy, but rank order these and tell me why you would buy it, and I'm probably going to go with that.
Yep.
right? Just like at a restaurant. What do you recommend? You know, it's like if it's my wife, I go, oh, we recommend the salmon. Well, my wife doesn't like seafood. She ain't eating it no matter what. I love seafood. Oh, you recommend the salmon? Stop right there. I don't need to hear about the steak. I don't need to hear about the veal. Done, right? But most salespeople are like, oh no, we have 17 specials today, and you're going to hear every single one of them, right? And by the time he's on the third, I'm on my phone making reservations at a new place, and I'm walking out of there. You know, do you get into that at all?
Yeah, I do get into that, but not, not to the depth that you're talking about.
Okay.
There are a lot of people that cover that a lot better than I do. What I'm really looking for at the end of the day, is Wes, what do you want to accomplish here? Okay. If you buy a solution, whatever it is, product, services, what have you, 6 months after it's implemented and your boss asks you, what did we get for all that? What's the answer you'd like to tell him or her?
Yeah.
What does that future state look like? And you mentioned this earlier, okay? You got to start with the end in mind, okay? Again, salespeople confuse what customers pay for with what they're buying. They're paying for the products and services. They're buying a different, better outcome. For you, when it comes to meals, look, I'm the same way, okay? I am not a shopper. I'm a buyer. I want to know what I want, where it is, so I can go in there, get it. If I need to ask a few questions, I will, but pay for it, get out, and get on my way. And, look, that's one of the 7 levels to hell to me if you want to drag me around all day to shop, okay? Because that ain't it. That ain't it for me.
Yep.
And customers are the same way, okay? They're the same way. They've
How
got
do we
things
get
to
them?
do.
How do we get them to open up? Because I agree, right? It's like, hey, because a lot of times I tell people no, like I'm not a fit, right? The thing
Yes.
you came for, it's not me. Or, you want to buy HubSpot, you know what? It's $800 a month, but what you just told me, you need Infusionsoft for $200 a month. I'm going to downsell you because I don't want you angry.
Yep.
Right. But it's easier for me. I've been doing this for 13 years. They're coming to me. But when I'm called in, or back in the day when I was carrying a bag, these buyers, their defenses are up because they've been lied to, they've been manipulated, they've been abused. And even though they're kind of desperate for the truth and don't want to get ripped off again, their guard's up.
Sure it is.
Right. So they don't want to answer these questions because they think it's going to be used against them.
Well, they've got a good reason to have their guard up, okay, because the path was blazed well ahead of you by other fearless salespeople that tried every trick in the book, okay, some of them ethical, some of them not so ethical. And it comes back to, go to your personal life. How many people like to be sold to?
Yep.
Okay, and by the way, salespeople are the worst people to sell to. I do it for a living, okay? And you talk about people, they're supposed to be positive self-starters and everything else. When you're trying to sell them a service or something, they're the most, standoffish and antagonistic people that you can deal with. So the real question becomes, first off, why am I even in front of you? How did I get that meeting with you? Okay, if I didn't position that meeting the right way, and the meeting should have never been about me. It should have been about you, Wes, because if you're giving me time, and this is one of the biggest things I really have to, getting way back up stream in the selling motion with my clients, I'm going, okay, great. You finally got the meeting with this key executive. What is his or her objectives for the meeting?
Yep.
Well, hell, I don't know, and I don't care. You know what? It took me 4 months to get the meeting. I got 30 minutes. By God, I've got a deck of 60 slides. I'm going to get in front of them. I'm going to do the show up and throw up. And before that 30 minutes is over, they're going to know every product and service we got, every office we got around the globe, whatever. And I'm going, well, that's great. That's what every other sales rep in the world does when they get that meeting.
Yep.
How about we ask him or her, if you're giving me 30 minutes of your time, what would you like to accomplish in that time? What would make it worth your while? And by the way, I'm also contributing to this meeting. Let me share with you what my objectives are. And then let's build an agenda off of that.
Yep.
and let's humanize this thing, okay? And let's treat people, with the respect that they deserve. And like you, I can tell you probably it wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that better than half of the business that I've won over the years have been from customers that I said no to initially. Said, you know what, this is not the best fit for you. And let me tell you where I think you need to go and who you need to talk to. Now, the next time they have a problem or issue, guess who the first person they're going to call?
Yep.
Somebody with credibility and somebody with trust. And that's what you got to establish at the very beginning. The old adage of, you lead them to your products and services, not with your products and services. So when I have an initial meeting with anybody when it comes to selling, I'm not there to talk about me, my products, my services at all until I've earned that right to talk about it. Yeah. And then I'm only going to talk about how it applies to delivering or over-delivering on the outcomes that you're interested in as a buyer.
Yeah, I mean, it's very much a courtship, right? I mean, and it's okay to play a little bit hard to get.
It's absolutely good to play hard to get. I become very suspicious when somebody is always available. Because there's value, okay, in scarcity.
Yeah.
And even with my existing clients, they may email me and want something immediately, or they'll call and leave a message, and I happen to be with another client. Well, they know I'm not going to get back on the phone with them until I'm done with whoever I'm with right now.
Yeah.
No, there's real value in scarcity, but there's a whole lot of value in not wasting people's time.
Oh, for sure. And, anybody listening to this, they think, well, you both own your own businesses, blah, blah, blah. It's like, I learned a long time ago. I mean, I was still in corporate America, and it was life-changing to me when I internalized this and I stopped answering every single phone call. I let some go to voicemail.
Yeah.
Or like if I absolutely had to, like if it was important, but like I wasn't ready, or maybe I'm walking to another interview, just, hey, Steve, I hate to do this to you. I'm walking into a meeting. Is it okay if I call you back in 30 minutes or an hour, whatever? Yeah. Or I'm walking from the parking lot. Can I get to my desk and call you right back? If nothing else, just to kind of center myself and be ready for that call.
Sure.
And it did not hurt me. It helped me make more sales, even as just a quota carrying sales guy.
Well, the same thing applies to me. I mean, I think, and I have this discussion with a lot of folks on the selling side and the buying side about, the advent of technology, the emails, the texting and everything else. And people say that it makes us more efficient. Maybe. But the real question is, does it make us more effective?
Yep.
And I don't believe it does. I think a lot of people are slaves to their email.
Yep.
They're slaves to the voicemail. They feel like they've got to respond right off the bat. And like you, I'd much rather, let me get a few minutes here to gather myself and be sure that I can have a coherent conversation.
Yeah. I know everybody, they're just winging it. They're shooting from the hip. They're going with the flow.
Yep.
Having a script, whatever, makes me feel too bound up and cold. And like, it actually helps you relax.
It does. It helps me relax. I mean, I learned that way back in the military. It's like, man, you got to slow down to go fast.
What do they say? Slow is smooth and smooth is fast.
That is correct. I think that's the Navy SEALs that say that.
That's where I learned it. I do that swim every January across Tampa Bay, and I'd never done an open water swim, and I go swim 3 miles with these guys, and I was freaking out in the beginning. Like, slow is smooth and smooth is fast. I'm like, all right, now I like it.
Yep. No, it's true. It's true. And it, thinking back to the comment that you made earlier, how do I get in the door? How do I look different? Going back to the proposal side of this, I don't know if you have seen, B2B proposals that are out there right now. They run the gamut from, you send what I'll call a quote. It's 2 pages of SKUs with indecipherable acronyms and prices and volumes.
Yeah.
And then you wonder why the customer only cares about price.
Right.
Well, you just told them it was about price because they don't understand anything that's on there. And then at the other end of the spectrum, you'll send them a young novel, right, that kind of follows the old marketing mantra. It's like, more exposures are better. And this whole thing is about you, your products, your services, the offices you got around the world, the companies you've acquired, whatever the case may be. Well, that doesn't help them make a decision either. And furthermore, when you've got multiple buying influencers, it doesn't help them sell internally.
Right.
And so what I have worked on my clients with is 7 simple slides. And I've had clients use them on deals of 20K. I've had clients use them on deals well north of $1 billion. The decision was made on 7 simple slides.
Yep.
And these slides walk through the customer journey. And it's how we're going to establish trust and credibility. But the one thing that we haven't talked about that's out there in the B2B world, and I agree with you, the fundamentals haven't changed, but the environment has. And one of the critical things that's out there in the B2B space right now is tremendous uncertainty. You've got, what is it, the last study I saw, there's 9.3 buyers on average on the customer side. Well, there's no way all those people are aligned. Okay? And we're only doing one deal with them, right? We're not doing a deal with operations, another deal with IT, another deal with customer service, another one with procurement. We're only doing one deal. How do we help them get aligned? And how do we manage all the stuff we don't know? And it's funny, salespeople today, more than ever, and maybe it's because I've got a lot of them in the technology space right now, but one thing I've noticed is they always feel like they have to have the answer. Now, I don't know about you, but man, when I was carrying a bag, I wasn't that smart. And if I had to have the answer every time, I'd have gotten the heck out of sales. What I needed was the right questions. And so this particular approach and format is a way to take the customer through the right conversation. And then the heart of it is, I'm going to present you with some options, typically 3 of them. They've got 3 very different outcomes. And what I would say is, Wes, these are 3 I've come up with based on everything we've talked about. Why don't you tell me, first off, which one of these is most attractive? See, I'm inviting you in to help construct the deal. And at the point that you point at one of them and say, well, Steve, this is the one I like the best, the first question I'm going to ask you is, how could it be improved? You might go, well, Steve, I don't really want this many of the, this much services, right? Well, we could change that, but then we need to change this other thing. What else? Well, geez, I'd like a little more of this. Well, we can do that. We can have a conversation and we can sit there and put together a $5 million deal in about 30 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what happens during that process? It becomes your deal as the buyer.
Right.
And then it's easy for you to sell internally. Okay. And it's one you want and you're motivated to go close. And what I hear so much from my selling clients is, look, the sales cycles are getting extended. There's so many steps. There's all these internal hurdles. And I go, yeah, because typically it's your deal you're trying to push on them.
Right.
Make it their deal. And if it's got the right outcomes in it that they want to achieve, they're going to work really hard to get this thing closed quickly.
Right. I like it. And I take it you cover that in your book, huh?
Yes, I do cover that in the book, oddly enough.
You gotta like it. The current state of supplier proposals is truly abysmal. Amen. Well, Steve, where do we send folks? I've got a link to your book on Amazon here in the notes. Should we send them to your website as well? Where do you want folks getting
Yes,
to know
please. The website is www.valuelifecycle.com. And certainly I am more than happy to connect with anyone who would like to reach out to me on LinkedIn, because I write about these topics on a regular basis, and they'll have access to that information.
Very nice. Yeah, I've got links to your website, to your LinkedIn profile, to your book on Amazon, and I took a bunch of notes as you were talking as well. So go and check that out there. Well, thank you, sir. It's beer 30 for you, huh? So
it is time. It is Miller time, buddy.
Well, thanks for coming on the show. It's been fantastic.
Wes, I really appreciate it. It's been a terrific time here on the show with you.
All right. You have a great night.
All right, man. You do the same.
So are you reminding your customers how good you are? Are you thinking about why they buy from you? And it's not usually what you think. I love the analogy, and I've heard this many years ago, but it's still true. People don't buy drills, they buy holes. They buy, screwing something together, putting some wood, building a deck, hanging pictures. That's why they buy it. So speak their language. You've got to understand. I love his analogy talking about, salespeople, we're pushing to close a deal, but the buyer is terrified once they close, but we're happy, right? We got the money. Now they're worried, did they make the right decision? That's why I have the ABCDE model: attract, bond, convert, deliver, endear. And it's a cycle. It's a circle, because once you deliver a great experience, delight to the upside after they become a customer, now you endear yourself to them. Now they sing your praises. Now you attract more business to you. So always be thinking, how can I make the second and third and fifth sale to this customer, even before you get the first? If you are thinking that way, you'll act appropriately. You'll win more deals. You'll win them easier. They'll be bigger. You'll get repeat business from these new customers. You'll get referrals and testimonials. All of that helps accelerate the process because you thought through this. Okay? Very clear cut. If you struggle with this, if you want some help month to month, check out 30daysalesgrowth.com. Come join us. Come hang out. Ask your questions of me in the group. Live calls on Thursdays. It will help you. If you are in need of tightening up the words you use, I've never mentioned this on the podcast, and I may add it as a link to my page, but I do copywriting for people from time to time. And typically what I do is edit what they create because it's much faster and a lot less expensive. But if you need help creating content, landing pages, email series, things like that, I do offer it. Just go to thesaleswhisper.com, do the contact us, and we can talk about it, see if it's a fit. But you'd be amazed how powerful the words you use are, both positive and negative. I can tell right away if someone's confident on the phone. I can tell in their LinkedIn messages, which are typically horrible. I can tell what angle they're using, that it's a pitch. So they're immediately 2 steps in the hole before they even start. So if that can help you, hit me up. It may be part of our bigger, like a 90-day consulting that I do now, and I've always done. Again, I just haven't talked about that much. I'm not a big fan of the 1-year agreements. If I can't help you within 90 days, then you probably have a bigger problem. And it's not to say we won't work together for a year or more, but it's in 90-day increments. Because once we solve the glaring issue, then it's not as though all your problems go away. You just have new problems. But I may not be the best one to help you address those. So we take them in baby steps. So if you want some private help, same thing, saleswhisper.com, do the contact us. You'll get a link to my calendar. And we'll talk, see if we are a fit to work together. All right, thanks for listening. Be sure to subscribe. Share this with your friends and family. Share it before your competitors do. Now go sell something.